Have you ever wondered why we call that red, tangy condiment on our fries and burgers ketchup instead of just calling it tomato sauce? After all, it's made from tomatoes. Wouldn't tomato sauce make more sense? Well, the answer goes back centuries, crossing oceans, cultures, and recipes that didn't even have tomatoes in them. Let's dig into why is it called ketchup and uncover the surprising history of this everyday staple on how ketchup became the word we all use today. So let's get into it, right here on History of Simple Things. In some countries, especially in North America, ketchup is instantly recognized as that thick, sweet, tangy red sauce. But in other parts of the world, like Australia or parts of Europe, the term tomato sauce is more common, and it might even refer to something entirely different, like a pasta sauce. This difference in naming isn't just about regional habits. It's rooted in how the word ketchup traveled across languages and cuisines, long before tomatoes even entered the picture. Believe it or not, ketchup didn't start out as tomato-based at all. The earliest versions came from Southeast Asia, particularly in what is now Malaysia and southern China. There, people used the word ketchup in Hokkien Chinese, which referred to a fermented fish sauce. It was savory, salty, and packed with umami flavor, something closer to soy sauce or Worcestershire sauce than the red condiment we squeeze from a bottle today. When European traders and sailors encountered this sauce in the 17th century, they loved the flavor and brought the idea back home. But since shipping barrels of fermented fish paste across long voyages wasn't practical, they tried to recreate it with ingredients they had on hand. That's where the story starts to twist. Back in England, cooks experimented with their own versions of ketchup. These had nothing to do with tomatoes. Instead, recipes often included mushrooms, walnuts, anchovies, or even oysters, ingredients that could be preserved and gave the sauce a deep, savory taste. In the 1700s, mushroom ketchup and walnut ketchup were popular condiments in British kitchens. They were dark, thin, and strongly flavored, completely different from the thick, sweet ketchup we know today. But the word stuck. Ketchup became a generic term for these pungent, savory sauces. Tomatoes weren't always a beloved ingredient. When they first arrived in Europe from the Americas, many people were suspicious of them, even believing they were poisonous. It wasn't until the 18th century that tomatoes began making their way into European recipes. By the early 19th century, American cooks started experimenting with tomato-based versions of ketchup. These recipes used tomatoes along with spices, vinegar, and sugar, creating a balance of sweet, sour, and tangy flavors. This new tomato ketchup quickly caught on in the United States, partly because it could be bottled and preserved much more easily than fresh tomatoes. Homemade tomato ketchup was tasty, but not always consistent. That's where commercial producers stepped in. One of the most important names in ketchup history is, of course, Henry J. Heinz. In 1876, Heinz launched his now iconic tomato ketchup, made with ripe tomatoes, sugar, vinegar, and a special spice blend. Unlike other versions on the market, Heinz ketchup was bright red, smooth, and shelf-stable. It stood out, and people loved it. Over time, it became the standard for what ketchup should taste like. Heinz also leaned into clever marketing. The famous glass bottle design and the 57 varieties slogan helped cement ketchup as an American household staple. Before long, ketchup wasn't just another sauce, it was the sauce. So if it's made of tomatoes, Why don't we simply call it tomato sauce? Here's where culture and language make a big difference. Tomato sauce already existed as a phrase in European cooking, but it referred to something else entirely. In Italian cuisine, for example, salsa di pomodoro means a cooked tomato sauce used for pasta or pizza. That's a savory, simmered sauce, not a sweet, vinegary condiment. When tomato ketchup spread across the English-speaking world, people needed a way to distinguish it from pasta-style tomato sauces. Calling it ketchup did exactly that. It separated the condiment from the broader family of tomato-based sauces. Even today, you'll see differences in what people call it. In the United States and Canada, ketchup is the standard term. If you asked for tomato sauce at a restaurant, you'd likely get a pasta topping. In the UK, people use both terms, but ketchup specifically means the bottled condiment, while tomato sauce could mean either the condiment or a cooked sauce, depending on context. In Australia and New Zealand, tomato sauce is commonly used to describe what Americans call ketchup. But even there, it's not exactly the same. Aussie tomato sauce tends to be a bit thinner, less sweet, and more tomato-forward compared to the American version. These regional quirks show just how much the condiment's identity is shaped by history and culture. The word ketchup stuck around not just because of history, but because it sounded distinctive. It carried a sense of exotic origin from its Southeast Asian roots, which gave it an identity separate from ordinary tomato sauces. By the time tomato ketchup became dominant, ketchup was already an established word for a condiment. Changing it to tomato sauce would have caused confusion, especially when tomato sauce in other contexts already meant something different. In short, the name survived the ingredient change. The sauce evolved from fermented fish to mushrooms to tomatoes, but the word ketchup remained constant. So the next time someone asks you why it's not just called tomato sauce, you'll have the whole story ready to go. Ketchup isn't just about tomatoes, it's about language, culture, and a surprisingly long journey from fish sauce to fries. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other bingeable channels. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.